They were once the face of perfection, now fans say she's unrecognizable. Welcome to Iconic Inside. Remember those magnetic A-listers from the 80s who stole every scene and every heart? What if we told you that some of them have aged so dramatically it borders on tragic? In today's video, we reveal shocking Hollywood gossip and rare images that will leave you questioning, is this even the same person? Watch closely, because by the end, one transformation might haunt you the most. Shelley Duvall. Shelley Duvall, born July 7, 1949 in Houston, Texas, once stood out as one of Hollywood's most unique faces. With her wide, expressive eyes and slender frame, she brought an offbeat charm to every role, a kind of vulnerability that few actresses could match. Now 76, her transformation over the years has shocked many fans. Her early fame came through a string of acclaimed roles in the 1970s, especially under the direction of Robert Altman in films like Brewster McCloud and Three Women. But it was her harrowing performance as Wendy Torrance in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining that immortalized her. Her raw, emotional portrayal left a mark not just on the horror genre, but on Hollywood history. After her career peak, Duvall quietly stepped back from the spotlight. She chose a modest, reclusive life in Texas, far removed from the glitz of the red carpet. But as time passed, her physical appearance began to change dramatically. The wide-eyed starlet looked almost unrecognizable. Her visible aging, combined with long-rumored personal and mental health struggles, came into sharp focus during a controversial TV interview in 2016 that left fans divided and disturbed. It stirred discussions of forgotten Hollywood scandals, how fame, once lost, can turn haunting. While Shelley Duvall may no longer fit the image of the screen beauty she once was, her work remains deeply respected. To this day, she's regarded as a cult icon whose performances dared to be strange, raw, and unforgettable. But her story is also a somber reflection of how quickly Hollywood moves on and how harshly it remembers those who don't play by its rules. Daryl Hannah. Born on December 3, 1960 in Chicago, Daryl Hannah made her name as one of the most unforgettable faces of 1980s cinema. Known for standout roles in Splash 1984, Blade Runner 1982, and Roxanne 1987, her tall frame, golden hair, and dreamy charm gave her a magnetic screen presence. She wasn't your typical Hollywood starlet. She had a strange beauty, a quiet intensity that made her different. Now at 65, Hannah's transformation is causing a stir. While she hasn't admitted to any cosmetic enhancements, her appearance has changed in ways fans can't ignore. Her facial features appear tighter, her expressions more frozen, sparking rumors of possible Botox or fillers. She still walks with grace, but the softness that once defined her face has given way to a more sculpted, unnatural look, adding fuel to the Hollywood gossip mill. Outside of acting, Hannah shifted focus toward environmental activism. She's made documentaries, joined protests, and committed herself to causes that matter to her. While her passion remains admired, her evolving appearance continues to be a talking point, reminding many that even icons of natural beauty aren't immune to the pressures of aging in the spotlight. Before we move on, we're curious, what country are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. Janice Dickinson. Janice Dickinson was once the face of Fierce, a towering icon in the modeling world during the 70s and 80s. With razor-sharp cheekbones and an attitude to match, she stormed runways and magazine covers like a force of nature. But fast forward to 2025 and the transformation is hard to ignore. At 70, Dickinson looks drastically different from her prime. Once hailed as one of the world's first supermodels, she's now more talked about for her cosmetic procedures than her catwalk legacy. Over the years, she's openly embraced an arsenal of enhancements, breast augmentation, facelifts, Botox, lip fillers, you name it. But the results, let's just say not everyone is applauding. Critics and fans alike have pointed out how her once striking features now appear frozen and far from natural. Her bold attempts to hold back time became a lightning rod for Hollywood gossip, with some questioning whether it all went too far. Still, Janice doesn't back down. She owns every decision, every wrinkle, and every injection with unflinching confidence. While her appearance has become a polarizing topic, her voice remains loud and unapologetic. Even today, she continues to stand tall as a defiant symbol of aging in an industry that worships youth. Bridget Fonda. Bridget Fonda, born January 27, 1964 in Los Angeles, came from Hollywood royalty, the granddaughter of screen legend Henry Fonda and daughter of actor Peter Fonda. Despite that towering legacy, Bridget carved her own place in the industry with standout performances in Single White Female, 1992, Point of No Return, 1993, and Jackie Brown, 1997. With her striking looks and sharp on-screen presence, she quickly became one of the most recognized faces of the 1990s. But in 2003, everything went quiet. Following a serious car accident, Bridget chose to leave acting behind and turned her focus inward, marrying composer Danny Elfman and stepping completely out of the public eye. For years, fans were left wondering what happened to the star who once dominated both screens and headlines. When she finally resurfaced in rare paparazzi photos, her dramatic change in appearance sent shockwaves across the internet. Gone was the glamorous figure once adored on red carpets. Instead, Fonda appeared casual, makeup-free, and wholly uninterested in maintaining the Hollywood image. The transformation lit up forums and headlines, fueling a new wave of Hollywood gossip about how fame fades and how harshly age is judged in the spotlight. Now at 61, Bridget lives a private life far removed from the industry that once defined her. While some were quick to comment on her physical changes, others praised her for choosing peace over pressure. She's no longer playing by Hollywood's rules, and maybe that's the most powerful role she's ever taken. Justine Bateman. In the 1980s, Justine Bateman was the ultimate teen icon. As Mallory Keaton on Family Ties, she played the lovable fashion addict with perfect comedic timing, a contrast to Michael J. Fox's brainy Alex. Audiences adored her beauty, charm, and energy, but the glamorous image that once defined her is long gone. Now 59, Bateman looks drastically different, and by choice. While many former stars chase youth through cosmetic procedures, Justine took a defiant stand against Hollywood's obsession with eternal beauty. She aged without intervention, without filters, and without apology. That decision sent shockwaves through fans and sparked viral debates across celebrity interviews and talk shows. Her book Face, 1 Square Foot of Skin, takes direct aim at ageism and unrealistic beauty standards. In it, she doesn't just push back, she confronts the culture that shames women for aging at all. Some viewers admire her bravery, others are stunned by her appearance, calling it too real for someone once considered a fashion icon. Lil Kim. Lil Kim was once the unstoppable queen bee of hip-hop, raw, fearless, and revolutionary. Born Kimberly Denise Jones on July 11, 1974, in Brooklyn, New York, she shot to stardom in the mid-90s as part of Junior Mafia under the wing of the notorious Big. She launched her solo career with the explosive 1996 album Hardcore, forever changing the image of women in rap. But as Lil Kim entered her 40s, fans began noticing drastic changes in her appearance. While she's admitted to some procedures, including a nose job reportedly due to injury, many believe her transformation went far beyond that. The public speculated on everything from skin tone changes to facial structure alterations. Side-by-side photos from her early career to now reveal a woman almost unrecognizable from the bold young star who once ruled red carpet fashion with unmatched flair. By 2025, at age 51, Lil Kim's evolution remains one of the most talked about in celebrity circles. Her look has become a lightning rod, sparking conversations about fame, pressure, and the relentless standards of beauty in the entertainment world. Still, despite all the whispers and headlines, Lil Kim's legacy is undeniable. She broke barriers. She redefined hip-hop. And while her physical transformation may shock some, her impact remains untouched. Do you think Lil Kim went too far with her transformation? Comment yes if you think fame ruined her natural beauty, or no if you believe it's her right to evolve on her own terms. Melanie Griffith. In the 1980s, Melanie Griffith was the very picture of on-screen allure, delicate voice, striking eyes, and a magnetic screen presence. Born on August 9, 1957, into a Hollywood legacy as the daughter of Tippi Hedren, Griffith was destined for fame. And she earned it with powerful roles in Body Double, Something Wild, and her iconic turn in Working Girl. But time and the pressure to fight it hasn't been kind. Now 68, Griffith's face has become a focal point of intense public debate. In her pursuit to preserve the image that once captivated millions, she turned to cosmetic procedures, lip fillers, Botox, and facial surgeries. At one point, the transformation was so dramatic that even she admitted it had gone too far. In rare celebrity interviews, Griffith revealed she eventually had the fillers dissolved, trying to reclaim the natural features that once made her famous. The result? A face that tells two stories, one of a starlet's golden past, and one of a woman who wrestled with fame's cruel expectations. Today, Melanie appears more grounded, more real. No longer chasing perfection, but choosing peace, she remains a presence in Hollywood and philanthropy, often seen supporting causes close to her heart. While her changing look once stirred tabloid frenzy, Griffith's willingness to face it all publicly with raw honesty adds a layer of depth to her legacy that beauty alone never could. Courtney Love. Courtney Love, born on July 9, 1964 in San Francisco, California, is a multi-talented American singer, songwriter, and actress. She rose to prominence in the 1990s as the lead vocalist of the alternative rock band Hole, known for her raw, unapologetic style and rebellious energy. Her highly publicized marriage to Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain made her a central figure in both music and media headlines. Now 61, Love's career has spanned decades of fame, controversy, and reinvention. Beyond music, she gained critical acclaim for her acting, particularly in The People vs. Larry Flynt, 1996, where she surprised critics with a powerful, nuanced performance. Over the years, Courtney's appearance has changed noticeably, becoming a frequent topic in celebrity coverage. She is confirmed undergoing cosmetic procedures such as rhinoplasty and lip fillers. Speculation about additional treatments, including Botox and facelifts, has often followed her, especially during moments when her look appeared drastically altered. At certain points, fans and critics expressed concern over how unnatural some of the changes seemed. Love has at times responded to the public's reaction, later embracing a more natural appearance and stepping back from the extremes. In recent years, she's shown a blend of aging and rock and roll attitude, still carrying the intense presence that made her famous. Despite constant public scrutiny and her name often linked to Hollywood scandals, Courtney Love remains a fearless figure in entertainment, aging on her own terms, with all the boldness and complexity she's known for. Kelly McGillis. Kelly McGillis, born July 9, 1957 in Newport Beach, California, became one of the most recognizable faces of 1980s cinema. Now 68, she remains best known for her breakout roles in Witness 1985, with Harrison Ford and the blockbuster Top Gun 1986, where she portrayed Charlie, the confident flight instructor opposite Tom Cruise. Her natural grace, classic beauty, and undeniable screen presence earned her widespread acclaim. But unlike many of her peers, McGillis made a conscious decision to step away from the spotlight. As Hollywood's obsession with youth and cosmetic perfection intensified, she quietly removed herself from the cycle, refusing surgery, age-defying treatments, or the constant pressure of red carpet fashion expectations. That choice came into sharp focus in 2022 when Top Gun: Maverick was released and McGillis was noticeably absent. Many speculated her exclusion stemmed not from talent, but from her refusal to alter her appearance to meet the industry's evolving beauty ideals. Now living a quieter life centered on teaching and personal fulfillment, McGillis stands as a rare example of authenticity. She aged naturally, unapologetically, and with dignity, a decision that sparked debate, but also admiration. In a world where many chase eternal youth, Kelly McGillis chose self-respect over spectacle. Helen Hunt. Helen Hunt was once the golden girl of the 90s, a natural beauty with a sharp edge and undeniable talent. Born June 15, 1963 in Culver City, California, she's now 62 and still in the game. She first lit up TV screens in her youth, but it was Mad About You that made her a household name and a magnet for Emmy Awards. She climbed even higher with her Oscar-winning role in As Good as It Gets, earning praise for her subtle, intelligent performances. But somewhere along the way, the spotlight shifted, not because of her acting, but because of her appearance. In recent years, Helen's face has stirred endless Hollywood gossip. Rumors swirled about cosmetic tweaks, though she's never confirmed anything. Some fans were stunned, claiming she looks drastically different from the woman they remembered. Online forums lit up, questioning whether Hollywood's pressure to stay youthful had caught up to her. Still, her talent speaks louder than the headlines. Whether directing or acting, Helen Hunt remains active and relevant. But for those who remember her natural charm in the 80s and 90s, her recent transformation. Nichollet Sheridan. Once hailed as a blonde bombshell of 1980s television, Nicholette Sheridan captivated millions with her piercing eyes and glamorous presence. Born in Worthing, England in 1963, Sheridan rose from the world of modeling to primetime fame, quickly becoming a household name. She's now 62 and almost unrecognizable from her early days on screen. Her breakout came with Paper Dolls, but it was her role as the seductive and sharp-tongued Edie Britt on Desperate Housewives that turned her into an icon. Audiences couldn't look away. Her on-screen charm sparked buzz, while her off-screen appearances became regular fuel for Hollywood scandals. Once revered for her flawless looks, Sheridan hasn't escaped the brutal microscope of aging in the entertainment industry. Rumors of cosmetic enhancements like Botox and fillers have followed her for years. Though never confirmed, her changing appearance has kept fans talking. Some red carpet showings left viewers stunned, wondering where the actress they once idolized had gone. Today, she's no longer a regular fixture on our screens, but she hasn't vanished entirely. Sheridan remains active behind the scenes, holding on to the grace and composure that once made her a television staple. Her story is a mirror to the harsh reality of Hollywood's obsession with youth, and a testament to the resilience it takes to stay standing when the spotlight fades. Pamela Anderson. Pamela Anderson wasn't just a star, she was a phenomenon. Born in 1967 in Ladysmith, British Columbia, she skyrocketed to fame in the early 90s as C.J. Parker on Baywatch. With platinum blonde hair, a sculpted figure, and iconic implants, Pamela didn't just walk into pop culture, she owned it. By the mid-90s, she had become a symbol of beauty and boldness, dominating headlines with her career, high-profile romances, and passionate activism, especially through her work with Peter. But as time passed, so did the era of glossy perfection. Now 58, Anderson's transformation is as surprising as it is powerful. For years, she was linked to an artificial image, one sculpted by cosmetic tweaks and media obsession. But in a stunning twist, Pamela has stripped it all back. No heavy makeup, no filters, just raw, honest aging. Her barefaced appearance at the 2023 Cannes Film Festival stunned fans and fashion critics alike, redefining red carpet fashion with authenticity over illusion. From sex symbol to outspoken humanitarian, Pamela Anderson's evolution is both jarring and inspiring. She's no longer chasing the spotlight. She's reshaping what it means to grow older in Hollywood. Her journey proves that sometimes the most shocking transformation isn't physical. It's the choice to be real in a world built on fantasy. Meg Ryan. In the golden age of romantic comedies, no one did it like Meg Ryan. With that radiant smile and girl-next-door charm, she lit up screens in When Harry Met Sally and Sleepless in Seattle, earning her crown as the undisputed queen of 90s rom-coms. Her chemistry with Tom Hanks was magic, effortless, iconic, unforgettable. But behind the laughter and love stories was the quiet ticking of an unforgiving industry clock. As the years rolled on, Meg Ryan's appearance began to change, and with it came a storm of Hollywood gossip. Rumors swirled about Botox, cheek enhancements, and fillers. Her face, once synonymous with warmth and natural beauty, became a focal point for media speculation and fan debate. Some fans couldn't recognize the star they once adored, while others defended her right to evolve on her own terms. But no matter where the public landed, one truth remained. Meg Ryan's mark on cinema is undeniable. She didn't just play the romantic lead, she defined it. Tara Reid. In the late 90s, Tara Reid was everywhere. With standout roles in American Pie and The Big Lebowski, she was the carefree, golden-haired it girl every teen idolized. Her beauty, charisma, and party girl persona lit up screens and red carpets. But Hollywood's love is fickle, and Tara's fairy tale soon took a sharp turn. By the early 2000s, her attempts to enhance her appearance with cosmetic surgery made more headlines than her films. A botched procedure left visible scarring on her abdomen and chest, instantly making her a target for tabloid takedowns. Then came the infamous red carpet wardrobe mishap, a moment replayed endlessly and mercilessly. Practically overnight, casting calls stopped coming, and the girl who once had Hollywood at her feet was suddenly left behind. Yet behind the glamour and gossip, Tara Reid refused to fade quietly. In 2008, she entered rehab to confront her personal struggles and fight for a fresh start. In the years since, she's clawed her way back through reality shows, indie projects, and raw celebrity interviews, where she owned her past with surprising candor. Today, Tara Reid isn't the same girl who lit up late 90s screens. She's battle-worn, scarred, but unshakably determined. Her story isn't just one of decline, it's one of grit. And in a town that's quick to forget, she's made sure we still remember her name: Madonna. For decades, Madonna didn't just chase trends, she created them. Bursting onto the scene in the 1980s, she reinvented music, style, and pop culture itself. With every era came a new look, a bold statement, a line crossed. She was fearless, magnetic, and unstoppable, the face of rebellion, power, and transformation. But even icons can't outrun time. At 65, Madonna still commands headlines, though often for reasons far removed from her groundbreaking artistry. Her 2023 appearance at the Grammy Awards left fans stunned, not by a performance, but by her radically altered face. The piercing eyes were still there, but the natural expressions, lost behind swelling and a wax-like stillness that set off a firestorm of speculation. Rumors swirled about excessive procedures, fillers, facelifts, and more, with experts weighing in and fans struggling to recognize the star they once idolized. While Madonna has always embraced reinvention, this latest version sparked questions about health, aging, and self-image in the spotlight. Even during candid celebrity interviews, she's danced around the topic, admitting to experimentation and personal explorations while keeping the full truth private. Despite the backlash, she remains defiant, still touring, still creating, still challenging expectations. But the transformation is undeniable. The woman who once shocked the world with her talent is now shocking it for a very different reason, and the debate over whether it's self-expression or self-erasure rages on. Madonna's transformation, fearless reinvention, or a step too far? Comment: 1 inch equals sign still iconic, 0 inches equals sign totally unrecognizable. Cher. Cher isn't just a celebrity, she's a force of nature. From her explosive rise in the 1960s with I Got You Babe to her Oscar-winning performance in Moonstruck, Cher dominated both music and film with a style all her own. Her deep voice, commanding stage presence, and striking beauty turned her into an icon across generations. But the woman once known for her timeless glamour has sparked growing concern among fans. As the years passed, so did the natural softness of her features. Cher has openly admitted to multiple cosmetic procedures, including a nose job and breast augmentation, but insists she's never been obsessed. Still, her ever-changing appearance has fueled endless Hollywood gossip, with fans wondering where the line between reinvention and overcorrection truly lies. At 78, Cher's face seems untouched by age, but not in the way many hoped. Critics point to a look that appears increasingly sculpted, frozen, and disconnected from the star who once lit up the stage with raw emotion. Despite these reactions, Cher remains defiant, brushing off the noise with trademark confidence. Her battle with the Epstein-Barr virus, a chronic illness that's quietly plagued her health, has only added to her mystique. Yet she pushes forward, touring, performing, and staying in the spotlight. Even as whispers grow louder, Cher's transformation is a stark example of how fame, aging, and pressure collide in the public eye. Her legacy is secure, but her reflection now tells a different story, one that fans can't stop talking about. Kim Basinger. Kim Basinger, born on December 8, 1953 in Athens, Georgia, is an American actress and former fashion model who became a defining screen presence in 1980s and 1990s cinema. She is 71 years old. Known for her refined beauty, delicate features, and poised demeanor, Basinger captivated audiences with performances that blended sensuality and emotional depth. She rose to stardom with roles in films such as Never Say Never Again, 1983, Batman, 1989, and LA Confidential, 1997, the latter earning her an Academy Award. Her image became iconic, a blend of classic Hollywood charm and modern mystique that made her a fixture in red carpet fashion and a symbol of cinematic elegance. However, Basinger's journey was not without turbulence. Though she never publicly addressed it, rumors of cosmetic procedures have followed her for years, as fans noted visible changes in her appearance over time. In addition, she has spoken candidly about her long battle with social anxiety disorder, a condition that led to frequent panic attacks and made public life increasingly difficult. In the early 1990s, she also faced a series of financial challenges, including a high-profile legal dispute that nearly drove her to bankruptcy. These setbacks, both personal and professional, marked a stark contrast to her polished image on screen. As she aged, Kim Basinger gradually stepped away from the spotlight. Her public appearances became rare, and when seen, her changing look often sparked concern or curiosity among longtime admirers. Yet despite the visible toll of time and stress, her legacy remains that of a complex and unforgettable Hollywood figure, one who brought vulnerability, strength, and grace to every role she played. Joan Van Arc. Joan Van Arc, born on June 16, 1943 in New York City, is an American actress best known for her long-running role as Valene Ewing on the hit series Knots Landing. She is 81 years old. In the 1980s, Van Arc stood out not only for her emotional performances, but also for her timeless beauty, defined by luminous blonde hair, refined bone structure, and a graceful screen presence that made her a favorite in Hollywood gossip columns. Her work on television earned critical acclaim and a devoted fan base, with Knots Landing becoming a cultural staple of its time. Yet, as the years passed, Joan's appearance began to attract more attention than her legacy. While she has never publicly confirmed any cosmetic enhancements, widespread speculation suggests she may have undergone several procedures, including facial fillers and surgical adjustments, in an effort to preserve her youthful image. Unfortunately, many fans and observers feel these changes have altered the natural elegance she once embodied. Some cosmetic experts have even commented that her facial structure now appears overly refined, giving her a look that feels more sculpted than spontaneous. The contrast between her past and present appearance has sparked ongoing debate, often overshadowing her contributions to television history. Despite this shift in public focus, Joan Van Arc remains a memorable figure in American pop culture. Her impact on 1980s television is undeniable, and for many, she will always be remembered not only for her beauty but for the emotional depth and vulnerability she brought to one of TV's most enduring characters. Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn, born on November 21, 1945 in Washington, D.C., is an American actress and producer who became one of the most beloved faces of Hollywood from the late 1960s through the 1980s. She is 79 years old. Known for her infectious laugh, sparkling blue eyes, and breezy charm, Hawn captivated audiences with her blend of comedic brilliance and heartfelt sincerity. Her breakout came with the Oscar-winning performance in Cactus Flower, 1969, followed by a string of hits including Private Benjamin, 1980, which she also produced. Throughout her career, Goldie embodied a unique mix of glamour and approachability, making her a frequent subject of Hollywood gossip and a cherished favorite on and off screen. But behind the bright smile was a more complex story. In her 20s, as her fame surged, Hawn struggled privately with depression and feelings of deep anxiety. Despite widespread adoration, she often felt disconnected and overwhelmed by the demands of celebrity life. With support from mental health professionals, she gradually found stability and a renewed sense of purpose. As years passed, her public appearances began to reflect the natural effects of aging. However, fans have noted changes in her appearance that sparked speculation about possible cosmetic enhancements. This evolving look, different from the fresh-faced star of decades past, has stirred mixed reactions, admiration, concern, and a strong sense of nostalgia. Though she now lives largely outside the glare of constant media attention, Goldie Hawn remains a celebrated figure in American cinema, remembered not only for her talent and legacy, but also for the warmth and joy she brought to generations of moviegoers. Kathleen Turner. Kathleen Turner, born on June 19, 1954 in Springfield, Missouri, is an American actress who became one of the most magnetic screen presences of the 1980s. She is now 70 years old. Known for her distinctive voice and bold charisma, Turner redefined on-screen allure in films such as Body Heat, 1981, and Romancing the Stone, 1984, earning a reputation as a true femme fatale of her era. Her rise to fame was swift, but her time at the top was complicated by personal trials that few could see beneath her confident exterior. In the mid-1990s, Turner was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, a chronic condition that caused severe pain and limited mobility. The illness forced her to retreat from the spotlight, halting a career that once seemed unstoppable. In later interviews, Turner spoke openly about turning to alcohol as a way to manage the relentless physical discomfort, a coping mechanism that led to further struggles and affected both her public image and professional trajectory. These deeply human challenges brought unexpected detours to her life, drawing her into the orbit of Hollywood scandals that stood in stark contrast to her once glamorous screen roles. Over the years, speculation about cosmetic surgery has occasionally surfaced, but Turner has never addressed such rumors directly. Instead, she has chosen to focus on stage work and advocacy, showing a quieter form of resilience. Though her appearance has changed significantly with age, Kathleen Turner remains a symbol of strength and candor. Her work continues to resonate, and her legacy is not only that of a seductress on screen, but of a woman who confronted life's harshest turns with grit and grace. Hold back. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum didn't just play tough guys, he was one. The laid-back glare, the gravel-toned voice, and that quiet intensity weren't manufactured for the screen. They were the aftershocks of a life forged in survival. Before the fame, Mitchum lived on the fringes of society. Orphaned young and swept into the harsh currents of the Great Depression, he spent his teenage years hopping freight trains and drifting from town to town, taking whatever brutal job he could find, digging ditches, shoveling coal, even stepping into the boxing ring under the name Jimmy Mitchum. That wasn't a marketing gimmick. The crooked nose and bruised knuckles, all earned the hard way, but it wasn't just labor or fistfights that carved him into the man audiences would later fear and admire. At just 16, Mitchum landed in a Georgia chain gang after being arrested for vagrancy, a raw and punishing taste of a system most actors could only pretend to understand. That short stint behind bars left a deeper mark than any film role ever could. Directors and co-stars saw it right away. Edward Dmytryk, who directed Crossfire, said it best. Bob never had to prove how tough he was. He simply was. On set, Mitchum could lift co-stars like Shelley Winters effortlessly, take hits without flinching, and move through chaos like it was background noise. His strength wasn't showy, it was just always there. In 1948, when he was arrested over a scandalous incident involving banned substances, many thought it would end his career, but Mitchum didn't flinch. He served his 60-day sentence with the same unshaken cool that defined his characters. Instead of destroying him, the scandal made him even more iconic. While other actors waxed poetic in celebrity interviews about their love for the craft, Mitchum stripped away the illusions. "I have two acting styles, with and without a horse," he once deadpanned. It wasn't arrogance, it was honesty. He didn't need to pretend. The edge you saw on camera came from real bruises, real battles, and a lifetime of carrying more than scripts. Joseph von Sternberg once said, "There are actors who create characters and actors who reveal themselves." Mitchum never had to fake a thing. His look, his vibe, that air of danger, it wasn't a role. It was the real. James Kagny didn't need Hollywood to teach him how to throw a punch. The streets of Manhattan did that long before the cameras rolled. Standing at just 5'5", Kagny may not have looked like a powerhouse, but beneath that small frame was a man who grew up in a world where fists did the talking. On the Lower East Side, survival wasn't scripted, it was earned. Kagny learned to box not for sport, but for protection. He wasn't fighting for trophies. He was fighting to stay on his feet. Long before he ever played a gangster on screen, Kagny had danced with real danger. His fast hands, sharp reflexes, and brutal precision weren't Hollywood choreography. They were born from back alley brawls and street corner showdowns. When audiences saw him fight on screen, what they didn't realize was that they weren't watching an actor. They were watching a man who'd been there and knew exactly how to end a fight before it even started. Director Raoul Walsh once said, "Jimmy knew how to throw a punch better than any actor I ever worked with because he'd thrown plenty of real ones in his day." That authenticity hit hard, literally. Co-stars like Mae Clarke found out the hard way during scenes where Kagny ditched the fake punches and delivered the real thing. One moment, it was a grapefruit to the face. The next, it was a stunned silence on set. But Kagny wasn't all fire and fists. His background as a dancer gave him a rare edge, the kind of precise footwork and explosive power that made his action scenes electric. He moved with purpose, like a fighter and a performer fused into one. He wasn't just believable, he was unstoppable. Behind the scenes, his reputation was legendary. In Hollywood circles, even comedians knew better than to mess with him. Jimmy was the kind of guy who, if you tried something funny, would drop you where you stood, then help you up and dust you off, Bob Hope once quipped. In one of his rare celebrity interviews, Kagny summed it up best. "When you're my size and grow up where I did, you either learn to be handy with your fists or get used to being on the ground. I preferred stand." Lee Marvin didn't just act like a tough guy, he was one. Long before Hollywood handed him a script, Marvin had already survived one of the most brutal stages imaginable, the Pacific Front in World War II. As a private first class in the 4th Marine Division, Marvin wasn't playing soldier. He was locked in real combat during the savage Battle of Saipan in 1944. It was there that a spray of machine gun fire tore through his body, shattering his sciatic nerve and leaving him permanently wounded. He spent nearly a year in a hospital bed, and the limp he carried for the rest of his life was no act, just well hidden on screen. For his sacrifice, he was awarded the Purple Heart. Unlike some stars who later polished their stories for the spotlight, Marvin never sugarcoated the truth. When asked about his service, he dropped the glamour and said bluntly, "I was a Marine sniper in the Pacific. I got shot in the ass and sent home." Brutal, honest, and unforgettable, just like his performances. Any man who says he enjoyed combat is either a liar or a fool. Those weren't just words. They were Lee Marvin's truth. And it's that raw honesty that made his screen presence feel so unsettlingly real. He didn't just act out violence, he understood it at its core. Director John Borman, who worked with Marvin on Point Blank, once said, "Lee understood violence in a way most actors never will. That's because Marvin had seen it. Not the stylized kind made for the screen, but the brutal, chaotic kind that left scars you couldn't see. When Marvin moved, when he stared someone down on screen, it wasn't theater, it was memory." In films like The Dirty Dozen and The Killers, Marvin didn't need to pretend. His characters felt bone-chillingly authentic because they were rooted in a past most actors never lived. Fellow co-star James Coburn summed it up best. When Lee walked onto a set, there was an immediate shift in the atmosphere. He didn't just act tough, he was tough, and everyone knew it. But nothing illustrated Marvin's real-life grit quite like the infamous Oregon bar brawl. While filming in the Pacific Northwest, Marvin, in his 40s, got into it with an entire crew of local lumberjacks. Witnesses said he stood his ground like it was a war zone, fending off multiple younger men until the state police stepped in. No cameras, no stunt doubles, just Lee being Lee. Lee Marvin arrived on set the very next morning, bruised, unbowed, and adamant about sticking to the shooting schedule without a hint of medical leave. What set Marvin apart was an unusual mix of brawn and brains. Beneath his rough exterior and tales of barroom brawls lay a thoughtful, well-read actor, deeply invested in his roles. Director Samuel Fuller, who teamed up with Marvin on The Big Red One, noted that Marvin's wartime ordeals had given him a surprisingly reflective view on life. He could be dissecting Ernest Hemingway's prose one moment and the next demonstrating the quickest method to neutralize an adversary. At a time when many action heroes were merely posturing, Marvin's toughness was genuine. A combat-hardened Marine who had stared down life's most harrowing moments, he poured every ounce of that authenticity into his performances. As film critic Roger Ebert famously put it, "When Lee Marvin threatens someone in a movie, you believe it because Lee Marvin could actually carry out that threat." Charlton Heston wasn't just cast as larger-than-life heroes, he lived like one. Before he commanded the screen in biblical epics and classic war films, Heston earned his toughness the hard way, flying through combat zones as a World War II aerial gunner. No PR stunts, no Hollywood fluff, just high-altitude danger and real courage under fire. Though famously humble about his service, Heston once gave a glimpse into the fear he faced. When you're in a B-25 at 15,000 feet and people are shooting at you, it tends to focus the mind wonderfully. That kind of pressure forged a man who would later demand more from himself on movie sets than most would dare. During the grueling shoot for the Ten Commandments, Heston endured blistering heat in Egypt's Sinai desert. While much of the crew collapsed from exhaustion, he pushed through without complaint. And in Ben-Hur, where other actors would have gladly let a stunt double take the reins, Heston trained for months to master the chariot. He suffered injuries. He nearly fell during the iconic race, but he kept going and made cinema history in the process. Director William Wyler, not known for exaggeration, once said, "Chuck has a physical courage that's quite remarkable." Coming from a man who had worked with the biggest names in film, that wasn't just praise, it was a statement of fact. Heston's dedication to authenticity didn't stop at action scenes. In the agony and the ecstasy, portraying Michelangelo meant hours with his arms held aloft, recreating the Sistine Chapel ceiling. The pain was real, the inflammation was severe, but when offered rest or padding between takes, Heston refused. The discomfort, he believed, would fuel a more truthful performance. Actress Sophia Loren, who shared the screen with him in El Cid, described him best. Charlton would spend all day in a 70-pound suit of armor in the Spanish summer heat. When most actors could barely manage an hour, he never complained. There was something almost inhuman about his endurance. Yet it wasn't just his body that was resilient, his convictions were too. Whether marching beside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or later becoming a polarizing figure in American politics, Heston stood his ground. He didn't chase popularity, he chased principle. In an industry where Hollywood gossip often masks the truth, Heston's strength, physical and moral, set him apart. Director Franklin J. Schaffner, who worked with him on Planet of the Apes, put it simply, "Many actors play heroes. Chuck actually was one. Real man showing through." Anthony Quinn didn't step into Hollywood. He fought his way in with fists, calloused hands, and a past far heavier than any script. Born in war-torn Chihuahua, Mexico, during the chaos of revolution, his childhood opened with the sounds of marching boots and fleeing footsteps. By the time he arrived in the US, survival wasn't an idea. It was a daily routine. Raised in the roughest corners of Los Angeles, young Anthony wasn't lifting dumbbells or chasing fame. He was hauling meat as a butcher's helper, swinging hammers on construction sites, and throwing punches in real boxing rings, all before he turned 18. His rugged build and broken nose weren't cosmetic trademarks. They were earned. Long before camera crews called action, Quinn was living the kind of life most actors only try to imitate. As a teen, he fought professionally to help put food on the table. That experience didn't just give him physical power, it etched a raw truth into his performances. When Quinn stepped into a role, you didn't see a man pretending to struggle. You saw someone who had already survived. On the set of Zorba the Greek, there's a famous moment where Quinn lifts heavy logs on the beach, a task meant for two men. No body doubles, no movie magic. Just Quinn, muscles carved by real labor, doing it for real. Even the local Greek workers were stunned. Director Elia Kazan summed it up best. Tony doesn't act tough, he simply is tough. His strength didn't come from stylists or trainers, it came from years of real work, real sweat, and real grit. Even in his 50s and 60s, when most stars relied on stuntmen, Quinn insisted on doing the dangerous stuff himself. During the Guns of Navarone, he scaled a cliff that terrified the crew. He didn't just play strong, he was strong, but what made Quinn different from other screen titans wasn't just brawn. He didn't fear emotion. He could lift a co-star with one arm and then break into a quiet discussion about painting or poetry. This blend of strength and sensitivity gave him a magnetic presence that transcended any one role. Actress Sophia Loren once said, "Anthony had the body of a warrior and the soul of a poet." And when he walked the spotlight-lined paths of red carpet fashion, he carried the same grounded intensity, a man whose past never left him, even under the flash of fame. In his own words, "I've carried real loads, thrown real punches, and felt real hunger. When I portray these men, I'm not pretending, I'm remembering." branding. John Wayne. John Wayne didn't need Hollywood to craft his tough guy image. He brought that grit with him from the start. Long before the cameras rolled, the man known as the Duke was living a life that would break most modern stars. Born Marion Morrison, he was raised in the rugged dust and sweat of early 20th century California and Iowa. Towering at 6'4", Wayne was a force even in his teens, earning a football scholarship to USC not for charm but for sheer strength and power. And when Hollywood came calling, it wasn't with scripts, it was with set pieces. He worked behind the scenes as a prop man, hauling gear that took 3 other men to lift. That raw muscle made him stand out fast. What many don't know, Wayne didn't just act in rough and tumble roles, he lived them. Even into his 50s, he performed his own stunts. During the filming of The Alamo, he took a brutal fall off a horse, cracked his ribs and kept filming, no complaints, just tape, grit and another take. Director John Ford once said, "Duke's toughness isn't an act. I've seen him outwork crews half his age in heat that sent people to the ER." But his most dangerous role may have been off camera. In 1956, Wayne shot The Conqueror in Utah, a location unknowingly exposed to nuclear fallout. Of the 220 people on set, 91 later developed cancer, including Wayne himself. Still, he pressed on, starring in action-heavy films for decades. Even after losing a lung and several ribs in 1964, he stunned everyone by returning to perform stunts in The Sons of Katie Elder just months later. His co-stars were often left speechless. One remembered him tearing his shoulder ligaments mid-scene, only to bandage it during lunch and finish the day like nothing happened. When a director asked if he wanted a stunt double, Wayne growled, "Either I do my own stunts or you get someone else for the part." Wayne's political views stirred plenty of celebrity interviews, debates, and headlines. But even his harshest critics admitted one thing: the man was built different. Actor Kirk Douglas once said, "Disagree with his views all you want, but don't question his toughness." In a world where most action heroes are made in editing rooms, John Wayne was the real deal. Rate John Wayne's real-life toughness from 1 to 9. 1 equals sign pure Hollywood act, 9 equals sign the ultimate symbol of real-world grit. How tough do you think he really was? Drop your number in the comments and don't he took it too far. Let's see where the real fans stand. Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas wasn't born into fame, he clawed his way there from the bottom. Before the red carpets and golden statuettes, he was Isa Danielovich, the gritty son of Jewish immigrants who knew hunger far more intimately than luxury. His childhood was marked by cold nights, empty plates, and a fire in his gut that never went out. As a kid, he scraped together coins by selling snacks to factory workers. It wasn't much, but it taught him 2 things: hustle and survival. And those traits would become his weapons in a brutal world that didn't hand out second chances. Long before he conquered the big screen, Douglas fought battles of a different kind in the wrestling ring. Not the choreographed theatrics of showbiz, but real, bone-jarring collegiate competition. He was good, so good that his skill on the mat earned him a scholarship to St. Lawrence University, a lifeline out of poverty. Then came World War II. Douglas enlisted in the US Navy and served as a communications officer aboard a submarine chaser, a job few survived unscarred. Life aboard those cramped warships meant constant danger, relentless noise, and the silent fear of what lurked beneath. He was eventually injured in service and discharged in 1944, carrying both physical and emotional wounds. Yet through all of this, the grit remained. In later celebrity interviews, Douglas often downplayed his toughness, but those who knew his past understood. The man behind the smile had faced more storms than Hollywood could ever script. What set him apart from the rest of Hollywood's on-screen warriors wasn't just his muscular build, but the sheer fire in his soul. Director Stanley Kubrick, never one to sugarcoat words, once said Kirk was a force of nature. If Douglas wanted something done, it got done, no debate, no compromise. On the set of Spartacus, he pushed himself to the limit, training with real ex-gladiators and seasoned fighters to make every swing of the sword feel painfully real. He even defied his stunt coordinator and took a brutal fall himself, one that injured him badly. But instead of halting production, Douglas was back on set 2 days later, bruised but unshaken. His co-stars didn't just admire him, they feared him a little. Burt Lancaster, a powerhouse in his own right, once said, "Kirk approaches acting like a physical confrontation. He doesn't just perform a scene, he attacks it. And that wasn't just about acting, that was Douglas's entire life. The real test came years later when the cameras stopped rolling. In 1991, Douglas survived a tragic helicopter crash that claimed lives and shattered his spine. Doctors weren't sure he'd ever walk again, but Douglas, well into his 70s, endured the pain, clawed his way through grueling rehab, and stood tall again. Then came another blow, a stroke in 1996 that robbed him of his speech, and again, he fought back. Years of therapy, relentless determination, and eventually he wrote a book about the journey. Director Howard Hawks summed it up best. There were plenty of actors who looked tough, but Kirk actually was. You could see it in his eyes that man had battled life and refused to back down. While Hollywood gossip often paints toughness with a brush of bravado, Douglas didn't need a spotlight to prove anything. His scars told the story, and his legacy made sure no one would forget it. Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen, a name synonymous with effortless cool yet off-camera, he was a true thrill-seeker whose real-life feats often stole the show. While many actors dodged danger with stunt doubles, McQueen craved the adrenaline rush. He'd roar through leaps, jumps, and high-speed chases himself, blurring the line between actor and action hero. Long before the fame, McQueen's life was already a wild ride. Raised in chaos and hardship, he hit the streets at 14, dodging trouble and chasing adrenaline. In 1947, he joined the Marines, but discipline didn't come easy. He racked up 7 demotions and even landed in the brig for disappearing on an unauthorized 2-week adventure. Still, he wasn't all rebellion. During an Arctic drill, he saved 5 fellow Marines after their tank plunged through ice. That act of heroism would be just the beginning. After the military, he drifted through gritty jobs, lumberjack, oil rigger, carnival barker, until acting came along. But Hollywood didn't tame him. It barely kept up. McQueen's obsession with speed and danger never slowed down. He raced motorcycles and cars under fake names just to dodge studio backlash. When filming The Great Escape, he performed nearly all his own stunts except for one infamous motorcycle leap that insurance companies flat out forbade. But make no mistake, his racing credentials weren't for show. At the 1970 12 Hours of Sebring, one of the world's toughest endurance races, McQueen and his co-driver placed second. Even though Steve was racing with a cast on his foot, that's not a storyline, that's real grit. As his stunt double Bud Eakins once said, Steve wasn't playing at being a racer or a tough guy, he was genuinely both. On set, he was a producer's worst nightmare and a director's dream. While filming The Sand Pebbles, he nearly drowned in a raging river because he refused a double. On The Towering Inferno, he ran through real flames most stuntmen refused to touch. Director John Sturges summed it up best. The problem with Steve wasn't getting him to do dangerous stunts. It was stopping him from doing the ones that were truly life-threatening. But perhaps the most haunting chapter came when police warned him he was on Charles Manson's hit list, alongside names like Frank Sinatra. Most stars would retreat behind security teams. McQueen? He started carrying a loaded Magnum, always ready, always alone. Even racing legend Mario Andretti admitted Hollywood had actors pretending to be tough. Steve actually was. He had more guts than some professional drivers I knew. In a world built on image, Steve McQueen's legacy has survived through grit, fire, and a fearless truth rarely found in celebrity interviews. Was Steve McQueen the realest action hero Hollywood ever had? Or just another thrill-chasing rebel? Comment, yes, real deal, if you think his fearlessness was unmatched, or no, just reckless, if you believe. Charles Bronson. Before he ever drew a gun on screen, Charles Bronson was already fighting for his life, not in a movie, but in the brutal shadows of a Pennsylvania coal mine. Born Charles Buczynski, he was the 11th of 15 children, raised in crushing poverty, where dreams were luxuries no one could afford. By age 10, while most boys played outside, Bronson was hundreds of feet below ground, hauling coal in choking darkness just to keep his family fed. That suffocating childhood sculpted the man the world would one day call a legend. He didn't speak often about those years, but when he did, his words hit like a sledgehammer. I was raised in violent neighborhoods and saw killing firsthand. We lived with death, starvation, and misery. The trademark scowl, the steel-eyed glare, the weather-beaten face, they weren't crafted in a studio. They were real, worn into his skin by the cold grip of poverty, by fists thrown in back alleys, and by the silence of hunger. But Charles Bronson's real crucible came not on set but in the sky. During World War II, he served as a B-29 aerial gunner, flying straight into danger across 25 combat missions over Japan. It wasn't just duty, it was survival. He took enemy fire, earned a Purple Heart, and kept his composure through chaos that would have broken lesser men. Fellow soldiers recalled his chilling calm under pressure, the kind of man you'd want beside you when everything goes wrong. Yet when the war ended, his battle continued, this time against obscurity. Bronson clawed his way up through over 50 gritty jobs: onion picker, short-order cook, even stepping into the ring as a pro boxer. Hollywood wasn't waiting for him. When he finally landed roles, he was typecast, not for who he was, but for how he looked. His steely glare and rough exterior made him the go-to for gangsters, henchmen, and hardened roles, often ones that didn't match his background at all. But Bronson didn't just act tough, he embodied it. Unlike other actors who rehearsed punches, Bronson moved like a man who'd really been in fights. His brawls on screen weren't theatrical, they were precise, unflinching, and real. As film historian Eddie Muller once said, "When Bronson throws a punch on screen, it doesn't look choreographed. It looks like a man who has been in real fights and knows how to hurt someone efficiently." On screen, Charles Bronson was the embodiment of quiet menace. But according to those who worked alongside him, the real man was even more formidable. Despite standing at just 5'9" by, Bronson carried the raw strength of a man forged by sweat and survival. He didn't just look powerful, he was. Actor Jan Michael Vincent, who co-starred with him in The Mechanic, once recalled a moment that stuck with him forever. "During a scene where he was just supposed to grab my shirt, I felt it, the grip. That wasn't acting. That was real strength, earned from a lifetime of hard labor." And if anyone doubted his grit, his reaction to threats from organized crime said it all. After Death Wish made him the face of cinematic vengeance, word spread that real-life underworld figures weren't happy. The studio panicked. They offered security. Bronson waved it off. His answer? Calm, unbothered. "I've lived too long and been through too much to worry about people like that." Director Michael Winner, who knew him well, once put it bluntly, "Charles doesn't act tough. He simply is tough. There's a difference." Audi Murphy. When people talk about Hollywood's toughest legends, names like John Wayne and Clint Eastwood come to mind. But none of them come close to the quiet intensity of Audi Murphy, a babyface 5'5" actor who looked more like a choir boy than a battlefield hero. Directors didn't know what to do with him. His youthful looks made him a strange fit for the gritty action roles he was destined to play. What they didn't know was that Murphy wasn't just playing a war hero, he was one. Before stepping into the limelight, he was already a legend on the battlefield. At just 19 years old, Murphy held off an entire company of enemy soldiers in France, alone, wounded, and nearly out of ammo. Then, against all odds, he led a counterattack. That act earned him the Medal of Honor, the highest military distinction in the United States, but that was only the beginning. By the time he was 21, Murphy had racked up 28 military medals, becoming the most decorated American soldier of World War II. He took out tanks, charged enemy strongholds by himself, and kept fighting even after being hit multiple times. His real-life record makes most Hollywood scandals look like cheap fiction. Hollywood first took notice of Audi Murphy after his heroic face appeared on the cover of Life magazine. But when he walked through the gates of a major studio, security guards refused to let him in. He looked too young, too harmless to be the battle-hardened legend everyone had heard about. No one believed this soft-spoken, baby-faced man could be that war hero. Yet behind that boyish grin was someone far more dangerous than any action star on screen. Military historians estimate Murphy took down as many as 300 enemy combatants single-handedly. That's more than some entire battalions, but when Hollywood tried to bring his story to the big screen, they ran into an unexpected problem. The truth was too extreme to be believable. Into Hell and Back, Murphy played himself in one of the most surreal moments in cinema history. But even then, producers had to cut out parts of his real-life story. Director Jesse Hibbs admitted, "We had to leave out some of Audi's actual feats because no one would have believed them. It was a moment where reality outpaced fiction and became a forgotten chapter in Hollywood scandals." After the war, Audi Murphy fought a new enemy, relentless PTSD. He slept with a pistol tucked under his pillow and often snapped awake, drenched in sweat, hand already on the grip. His second wife, Wanda Hendricks, captured the contrast best. Audi had two completely different sides. In public, he was shy, soft-spoken and gentle. But I've seen him wake up from nightmares and become someone I didn't recognize. A hardened killer with instincts that frightened me. Murphy kept those instincts caged throughout his Hollywood years. They broke cover only once, during a fiery dispute with a businessman. Witnesses say he moved so fast, so decisively, that the man later confessed, "I suddenly realized I was looking into the eyes of someone who could kill me without hesitation. It was the most terrifying moment of my life." Yet Murphy never chased the tough guy role. He favored light comedies and romances, scripts that let him step away from a violent past few could fathom. Behind that quiet smile lived a decorated veteran whose real-world combat record dwarfed any fictional hero, a living legend whispered about in Hollywood gossip. Number 4 on our list is truly jaw-dropping, not just because of his real-life toughness, but because studio executives went to great lengths to hide his past. Why? They feared the truth was too wild for audiences to believe. But before we uncover this incredible piece of Hollywood history, let us know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. The journey of these stars through time is nothing short of remarkable. Watching their transformation from red carpet royalty to who they are today tells a story of fame, struggle, and survival. While their looks may have changed, their influence on the entertainment world remains as powerful as ever. Their legacy still shines bright, proving that true star power never fades. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's ever-changing faces, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories just like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.